I gotta say, I am extraordinarily proud of my fellow Minnesotans, and let's talk about it, okay? Because after today, I'm coming out of today thinking we're gonna win this thing. Like they can try and shut down the elections in later this year. They can sure as shit try. They can try to deny elections in 2028, but they're not going to get away with it. And people aren't going to meekly just bow down and kowtow to the Trump administration. They are not going to see a bunch of these armed ghouls stalking their streets, trying to snatch their children, and say, well, that's fine. That's okay. We are not so meek here in America, and today was a great demonstration of it. Okay? Like, the rallying here, especially around the case of Liam Ramos, who is the 5-year-old boy who was snatched up by ICE and used as bait to try and grab his family, has proved to be a powerful catalyst to getting people out there on the streets. People are sharing images like this one. If you tolerate this, your children will be next. And it's true. You know, like this is chilling and heartbreaking and true. And so people in Minnesota stand relatively united around the idea that these ICE agents need to fucking go. They need to go. And so I just really want to put forward here, ICE is doing itself no favors. They are, instead of trying to soften the image of fascism, to normalize it to any degree, instead they're doubling and tripling down. I mean, an ICE spokesperson said this the other day, and I want you all to listen to it and to understand this is what they are offering to the people of Minnesota after, you know, the biggest news story of the year so far is ICE shooting a mom in the face, and then the Trump administration burying that story and saying they're not even going to bother investigating it. Okay? And this is the thing they have to offer when we start talking about children being disappeared.
This week, ICRO conducted targeted enforcement operation to arrest Adrian Alexander Conejo Arias, an illegal alien who was released back into the interior of the United States by the previous administration.
Also, I just want to really emphasize here, Liam's dad was not an undocumented immigrant. He was here legally. He was following all the steps. He was in the middle of asylum claims, and the Trump administration suspended the normal course of asylum claims. And what they're trying to say is, well, that makes him immediately illegal and undocumented, when neither of those things are true. Neither of them are true.
When officers approached Conejo Arias, he and his child were in a vehicle. Arias fled from law enforcement on foot, abandoning his child in the middle of winter in a vehicle. One of our officers stayed behind with that child, while other officers apprehended his father. After conducting the arrest, my officers stayed with the child. They cared for him, took him to get something to eat from a drive-through restaurant, and spent hours ensuring he was taken care of. Again, my officers did that, not his father. My officers did everything they could to reunite him with his family. Tragically, when we approached the door of his residence, the people inside refused to take him in and open the door. Let me say it again. They saw the young boy, and they refused to open the door and take him back. This is the human side of the job that my officers do. They are family men and women. They have children of their own. They sacrifice everything for their families. I know for a fact that they were heartbroken to see the child's own family leave him behind. Fortunately, Conejo Arias eventually requested that his child stay with him. We do everything in our power not to separate families. So they took him back together to Minneapolis, here to the city, to the ICE facility for processing. And now they are being well cared for at a family residential center, pending their...
Yeah, by the way, the family residential center, you remember the kids in cages stuff under Trump 1? It's the same residential center where they kept kids in cages. It's the same place. The same goddamn cages. One of the biggest fucking failures of the Biden administration was not shutting that entire system down. And I want to say, there are very few of these people, because I expect it from so many of these people in ICE and DHS, but there's something about this guy that got specifically under my skin. Maybe it's the way he's trying to appeal to, like, emotion and saying, like, oh, well, look, ICE agents are good family men. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's what gets under my skin. But this is fucking grotesque. They chased a man down who was here in the United States legally, going through the asylum process, which you need to enter the United States in order to do. And these armed goons bum rushed his car. And when he fled to try and get inside his house, thinking they would never be so monstrous as to detain a child who is, to my understanding, a legal citizen of the United States. But they got him and they got his child. And instead of working with the school system to have one of the parents pick him up at the school, one of his relatives pick him up at school, instead of doing that, they abduct this child, drive him around, and then try to use him as bait to get other people in the house into their custody. This wasn't they just didn't want their kid back. It's not like their kid was knocking on the door all by his lonesome. There were multiple ICE agents armed and prepared to enter their house if they opened that door. They pulled out an innocent American citizen from his apartment the other day after illegally entering his home because he was Hmong. Who in their right mind would open their fucking door to these clowns? It doesn't matter if you're a citizen. It doesn't matter if you're undocumented. They are going to beat you and they're going to torture you if they want to do that. And it is terrifying. So yeah, no shit, they didn't open the door for that. The painting of this family as if they are monsters and didn't want their kid back. It is grotesque. It is grotesque. And the amount of hatred I have for these people is not possible for me to put into words. When Thomas Jefferson talked about the blood of patriots and tyrants waters the tree of liberty, one of the types of guys he had in mind were these clowns at DHS and ICE. He was talking about tyrannical agents of the state. And that is what these people are. The founding fathers would shit on these guys and use them as propaganda tools. Okay? For all their flaws, they recognized when a tyrant was trying to act against them. And you know what? That spirit stays alive here in Minnesota because we recognize tyrants when they come knocking too. Okay? And I think it is also worth noting that these people are all serving white nationalism. They're all serving white nationalism. Here, I want to introduce you guys to Ross Johnston, who spoke for Turning Point USA Faith. Let's take a look at his message here real quick. Because this is the kind of stuff that is being normalized on the far right. Oh, God.
In front of the eyes of the entire world. In that moment, I knew that as the body of Christ and as a believer in Jesus, that it was time to step into another threshold. There was another reality being birthed on the earth where God was saying, though evil is rearing its head, what the enemy intended for evil, God will turn for his glory. And I don't know about you, but for me, something started stirring up on the inside of me. I said, God, they already called me a crazy Christian. I don't know what else to do. But I know this much. If they thought I was loud already, I'm going to be louder than I've ever been. I'm going to worship longer than I've ever worshiped. I'm going to preach the word of God with every ounce and every fiber in my being. Ain't no demon, ain't no politician politician, no position of power that's going to stop the kingdom of God in my life.
Now, you might think to yourself, well, that sounds like a very fervent appeal to God. Jack, what are you talking about? This guy is quoted as having said something very similar to what he said on that stage. I'm going to quote the original version of what he said previously in the past. You're already known as a Christian white nationalist, so you might as well act like one and get out onto the streets with us. These fucking wolves in sheep's clothing, man. It's gonna sound like Nazi stuff. Yes, he's a white nationalist. That is what is behind all these ICE folks. That is what is behind all of these DHS folks. That is what is behind all of these folks who are camping hard for J.D. Vance and Donald Trump. And there might be a handful of folks who are unaware that they're being useful idiots for this type of a movement, but I'm sure their numbers are dwindling every single day. Okay? Every single day. But this is what they stand for, you know? Like, today, guys, a lot of talk has been made about the weather here in Minnesota because, you know, it's sub-zero temperatures out there, folks. It is around negative 10, negative 20 degrees below zero out there. With the wind chill, it's even colder. But this is what ICE is up to. You know, they're avoiding the protests for the most part, but this is what they're up to today.
No! No! Stop! Stop! No! What is your name? What is your name?
Do you have a warrant for his arrest?
Do you have a legal? Yo soy legal.
Yo soy legal. Keep blowing your whistle. What is your phone number?
Oh my God. Get the fuck out of here. Come on, man. Show your fucking face. Bitch ass pussy.
Hush tones behind your back for the rest of your fucking life.
A child. A child.
Again, to reiterate, it is sub-zero temperatures. The fucking baby has to like hide his fingers in his sweatshirt because otherwise he's gonna start getting frostbite. Every day now, folks here in Minnesota, we see shit like this happen. Every single day. It makes us madder and madder, and we're not gonna fucking take this. We're not gonna take this. These fucking monsters. Fucking filth. That kid, by the way, I don't know if you made out what he was saying. He was saying, I'm legal. I am legal. I am legal. I am legal. Is there a reason for the whistle to call others to the place? Yeah. It's small, it is cheap, it is easily moved around, and it can be very, very loud. And folks in the community have been trained to recognize the whistles, and everyone has one at this point. And it's to warn other people on the block that that ICE is there, that they're trying to take someone, and to bring other people to the location. Because while it was not successful on this particular occasion, people running out of their houses, but this is fucking gross. It is fucking gross. It's awful. When I say prosecute every ICE agent, I want you all to understand that's the compromise position. That is the compromise position. And every single day where I see this cruelty escalate, that compromise position is harder and harder to hold. Like, these people disgust me. They have come from hundreds, if not thousands of miles away to come and try and snatch children up in sub-zero temperatures. I want these people to lose everything. I want there to be a list of ICE officers and ICE agents and ICE bureaucrats. I want them to lose everything. I want them to feel the shame of this until their dying day. And I want them to spend that time between now and their dying day in a goddamn prison cell. Yeah, unfortunately, when you ask which kid are you talking about, 5-year-old kid, doesn't narrow it down. Because guess what, folks? Here's a city council member, Jason Chavez here, helped bring 2-year-old Chloe and her father home. They were kidnapped today in South Minneapolis. With the permission of the mother, we are reaching out to raise funds for lawyer fees, food, bond requests, rent, livability, and resources to keep this family together. Because guess what? ICE fucking kidnapped a 2-year-old girl. Another one? Guys, yes, every day they are going after children. It's why they're staking out schools. They're going after the parents and the kids. So I'm going to link this GoFundMe here. If you can at all support it, please. But they're going after everybody. If they could, they'd go after a newborn. In fact, I wouldn't put it past them that they're trying to round up, infants in the ICU. I'm very certain, based on a number of things, that a lot of ICE agents are diddlers. I mean, we know from the last time, the kids in cages thing during Trump 1, a lot of the kids that go into the ICE detention system do get sexually abused by their guards. We know that. It happened a lot. And that entire system should have been destroyed by Joe Biden. It is one of his biggest failures that he did not do that, and instead tried to double down and look tough on undocumented immigrants. It's disgusting. ICE must be abolished, and every single bureaucrat and agent from the top to the bottom needs to stand and answer for their crimes against this country. For their crimes against undocumented immigrants, for their crimes against humanity. I just want you guys to know that the incidents of Liam Ramos and other children like him, they are not going unnoticed here in Minnesota. People are making signs based off of Liam's hat. The hat his mother lovingly bundled him up in to send him to school that day, thinking that she'd see him come home. And instead, ICE agents shipped him across the country to live in a concentration camp. This blue bunny hat is turning into a heartbreaking symbol of what ICE has done. A lot of people here in Minnesota are really fucking angry. It hurts my heart. It hurts my heart. How does any of this keep people safe? It doesn't. Because the purpose of ICE is not to keep us safe. It is to it is the vehicle that these white nationalist fucks want to use as their way of ethnically cleansing the United States. It's why DHS posts about deporting 100 million people, approximately the same number of non-white people in the United States. It's because these evil, vile pieces of shit are deliberately trying to do an ethnic cleansing. When we make the comparison here between ICE and the KKK, or ICE and slave catchers, that is the comparison to make. They are the apotheosis of the slave catcher. Unfortunately, the peacekeepers, ICE agents, are not criminals in the eyes of the government. They are above the law. Not in this state, they're not. And I will also say, if they think that that type of federal immunity is going to last, and is going to outlast the people who fucking live here, they've got another thing coming. And the folks that marched today in Minneapolis and Minnesota and across this country, we're not going to fucking stop until we get all the way to Washington, D.C. and shake those halls down until our members of Congress do something about this. And accountability and prosecution for each and every one of these people needs to be one of our rallying cries. There is nothing we cannot do if we band together, and one of the things we must do is to make sure every single ICE agent, every single ICE bureaucrat, every single leader who had this happen stands trial for their crimes. It is fucking disgusting what they are doing here. Every day. Every day. Every day. I know people who are too scared to go shopping for groceries. One of the stories we talked about the other day was how an entire community had to create an underground system in order to get a 12-year-old girl menstrual pads because she couldn't go to the store and her parents couldn't go to the store. How is that possible, though? If you organize enough people, you can do any fucking thing. And you might think, the thing about the politicians in DC is they think that they are insulated from us. And the reality is that they are not. They live in the same world, they eat the same food, they breathe the same air, they drink the same water, and guess what? They share the same social spaces that we walk in. They go to parks, they go to hotels. They are not inaccessible. They have to live in the world with us. And that is a huge amount of leverage for us. That leverage. One of the things that needs to happen here is that, I've talked about this before, there needs to be systematic bullying of our elected officials. That is what politics is when you really boil it down. But you can't harass them. You absolutely can harass them. You can't illegally harass them. YouTuber Grudge, thank you for the 20 gifted memberships over on YouTube. I'm going to have to turn off the alert because I think it will read each one off, but thank you so much. I very much appreciate it. You can absolutely harass systematically politicians. Not in the illegal sense, but in the sense that you can call their offices every damn day. You can go to their offices every damn day. You can approach them in public because they are a person. The same way you can go up and talk to a barista in a cafe, you can go up and talk to a politician. Especially your own elected politicians. You elected them. They are accountable to you. That's their job. And so we need to get a lot meaner to these folks. And we need to get a lot more consistent because they're used to folks showing up, on a one-off issue and then going away. I think we need to start organizing folks to systematically every day fill up their voicemail boxes. Systematically every day run their fax machines out of paper. Systematically show up to each and every one of their press events and ask them inconvenient questions. Show up to known spots that they like to hang out and ask them questions. Embarrass them in public. Of course, don't do anything illegal, but we need to start showing up. So that is the issue here. The issue is part of what we need to do is we need to more systematically exert pressure on these people. Because the Republicans who are currently in Congress, who are, considered the swing votes, right? We need to start bullying them so much harder. We need to start bullying them so much harder. What needs to happen is, like, every single day, Susan Collins needs to come into work and have a million different messages from people telling her that she needs to fuck off until she actually holds Donald Trump and ICE accountable. That needs to happen. There needs to be a full court press on these vulnerable swing vote Republicans.
Big man with nothing to say. Big boy pants on.
All right.
Big boy.
This is the mentality of what we're dealing with here. I'm just trying to have an intelligent conversation. We're just trying to have an intelligent conversation.
I'm a tall man. I'm a big and tall man.
I don't act this way.
I'm a big and tall man.
You want to engage in intelligent conversation?
I'm big and tall man.
This is what we're dealing with on the ground.
Yup.
All over. That's right. Actually, I'm very respectful. And you're not respectful at all in any way.
Now, I want to really emphasize here, this is actually a perfect encapsulation of what I'm talking about. She's not breaking the law. Nothing that she's doing here is illegal. But clowning on him, embarrassing him in public, that's perfectly legal to do. This is what I'm talking about. We need like 100 ladies like this to just follow these swing vote Republicans around to all of their everyday activities doing this. Like, that's what needs to happen.
I just want to ask, do you believe in illegal immigration? Do you think U.S. taxpayers should be funding housing for illegals and medical care?
Smart man. He is so intelligent. This man, he's got nothing to say. He's got nothing to say.
I got a lot to say.
He's a big man.
All right, now,
he's a big man.
now I'm a Nazi.
What a big man.
Oh.
What a big man. Bye,
Crazy.
bye, big man.
I'm very respectful.
Bye, bye, big man.
I'm very respectful.
Goodbye.
Here.
Trying to incite you.
Also, like, we don't give a fuck if you're respectful. You're a piece of shit. You're a piece of shit conservative trying to, like, smear Renee Good. Fuck you.
This is the mentality. This is the state of the United States right now. This is what's going on.
This is the absolute state of the United States. People giving a shit that ICE federal agents shot a woman in the face. The absolute state of America right now. Back in my day, people just wouldn't give a shit if you shot a woman in the face.
Here in this country.
God, I hate these people. I hate these people a lot. Sorry, cannot say I get on her side just from looking at that. The point isn't to get people on her side. The point is to put pressure on the politicians themselves. That is the point of having larger action that resembles this, right? Targeting politicians. The point is to leverage politicians to do a thing, not to make friends with you. It's not to like, oh, look good to other people. Who gives a fuck? We don't, like, the people who are out there protesting aren't doing it because they want to look good to other people. They're doing it because it's the right thing to do and they want concrete action in response to their demands. Right? Like, the point here isn't, oh, well, I think she has some good and nuanced points. That's not what she's trying to do. And that's not what we should do when we're trying to influence politicians. To the doomers, for the sake of argument, if we're all fucked anyway and we're all gonna die, why are you sitting on your ass waiting to die? Get off your ass, get out there. Hell yeah. Yeah, like, it's entirely a power dynamic thing. Like, you want to leverage power until they're like, this is a whole load of horse shit, and if I vote the way they want me to, they'll leave me alone. Okay, fine. Yeah, I mean, like, the time for debating fascists was years ago in order to clown on them, to make them look stupid and weak. And now, we don't need to, like, debate them anymore. Just clown on them. Just skip the debate part and clown on them, because their ideas are bad. And they should feel bad for having the ideas in the first place. It's like saying, on the one hand, we have the phenomenon of global warming caused by different gases accumulating in the atmosphere and leading to a buildup of heat on the surface of the planet. But counterpoint, have you considered that maybe that's all fake? Because God was the only one who could fart any chemicals into the atmosphere meaningfully? Have you considered that? These are both ideas worthy of equal merit. And the answer is no, they're not worthy of equal merit. fascist ideas are bad. They're not worthy of equal merit to like rational, actual ideas that serve humanity. These fascists are dumb as fuck. They're dumb as bricks. They're stupid as hell. And I say that because
800 degrees
every day.
And its atmosphere is almost all CO2.
It's true. God really took a fart on that one. Sake Tanuki, thank you for the 2 tier 1 subs and the fun facts. Fascists are incompetent, and they have bad ideas, and they're stupid and incompetent. Anyway, here's ICE crashing one of their vehicles into a telephone pole, and apparently they just then jumped in another vehicle and left their car there. That's what they're doing these days. They drive around breaking speed limit laws and traffic laws, crash their goddamn rental cars, then they hop out, look for someone to blame, grab anyone that is convenient to them, and then throw them in another ICE car and drive away. Which is exactly what happened here, by the way. They grabbed someone after they crashed their car, jumped in another ICE rental car, and drove off with that person. They disappeared someone to cover up their own goddamn incompetence and property damage. Yeah, they're out there playing their own version of fucking Grand Theft Auto IRL. It's fucking nuts. This is untenable. Like, people are afraid to go outside because ICE agents might, like, gas them or beat them or shoot them in the face or run them over with a goddamn car at this point. Like, it is deeply unsafe for folks. Like, and that goes especially if you look like Hispanic or indigenous. But they're also going after, like, Somali people. They're going after, people of color. They're going after, like, white people who look poor even. They're going after, like, queer people. Like, it is mayhem out there. And so days like today, where Minnesotans show the fuck up, are really important.
Trust no one. The minute God crapped out the third caveman, a conspiracy was hatched against one of them. Hunter-gatherers.
Sake Tanuki, thank you for the 2 tier 1 subs. Oh, God. But I do want to say, folks, we're winning this. Minnesotans are coming together every day in bigger and bigger and bigger ways, and we are going to fucking beat these bastards. Minnesota judges continue to reject arrest warrants in ICE protests. Sources say federal agents aren't providing evidence that protesters are committing the crimes of which they're accused. So what is actually happening here is ICE will just grab people, say that they are guilty of doing a crime, and then the judges here in Minnesota are like, okay, what's your evidence? And the ICE agents are going, what evidence? We just, like what? We already have them. We took them. They're guilty. And judges are going, that's not how this works. I guess they're free to go. We're dropping these charges.
Keep up the good work. Your analysis is spot on, and I bet you're gonna blow up at some point.
Sunita, thank you very much for the $6.99 Canadian. Appreciated, and again, sorry what my country is doing internationally. It's a fucking travesty and a shame. So, judges are not coming together. There's a story in this article, I'm gonna link it here for you guys, where judges are even going like, okay, so you're saying this protester threw an egg at your car, but you don't have evidence, and that doesn't really constitute, like, assault on ICE officers, so I'm just gonna let them go. It's nuts. In one case, a Minnesota judge rejected an effort to arrest and charge a protester after they had thrown an egg at a law enforcement vehicle, according to one person briefed on the case. In another example that had not been previously reported, Magistrate Judge Douglas Micco of the U.S. District Court in Minnesota on Tuesday rejected a complaint to arrest a St. Paul School Board member Chantil Louisa Allen on federal charges of seeking to threaten or intimidate people from engaging in worship. The case stems from a Sunday morning protest outside the St. Paul service at City's Church, where protesters chanted "ICE out" and "Justice for Renee Good," because they believed David Easterwood, acting director of the city's ICE field office, served as a pastor there. And the judges are just like throwing out these charges right and left. The Trump administration, by the way, has tried to charge this woman as who is, I also want to say, a reverend, as an anti-Christian terrorist, despite the fact that she herself is a Christian and has repeatedly said on camera that the reason she engaged in this protest was because of her deeply held convictions as a Christian. Like, we're in just some absolutely nuts territory right now. Okay? Absolutely nuts territory. Like, here's the decision when it comes to the protester, Chantil Louisa Allen here. The judge ends this ruling saying, essentially, yes, the United States, however, offers no factual or legal support for their assertions. The court has found none. And so they released her. Yeah, this is the lady that the Trump administration posted, like, her mugshot, or like a picture of her being arrested.
Riverboat Jack, I appreciate seeing you positively impact and educate so many of us. Solidarity forever.
Thank you so much, Sturls the OK, and thank you for subscribing, and solidarity forever right back, folks, because the thing is, it's we've just grown beyond the point at which, you know, just informing people is enough. We need to start telling you guys where you can direct your efforts and take action. Because I think many of you are folks who would, if you knew how, get more involved to stop this shit. I believe in the fundamental goodness of many of the people here in this country. But yeah, the Trump administration took a picture of this woman being arrested. They darkened her skin with AI and then used AI to manipulate her face to make it look like she was crying while being arrested. It's really, really gross. The way this administration has tried to manipulate reality itself in order to weaponize perception against its opponents. It's really fucking gross. But I do want to say, I think the overwhelming majority of folks understand, especially when it comes to Liam Ramos, that what the Trump administration is doing is evil. This stories like this one are why the Trump administration is losing the I guess the culture war, as it were, the dominant narrative that ICE is the good guys, getting out all the criminals. It's really fucking hard to make that argument when you are actually grabbing 5-year-old children off the street. Like, they want to tell you a kid with a Spider-Man backpack is evil. This child with a blue bunny hat to keep his little ears warm in the wintertime. They want you to think that they're only arresting the bad guys. And this isn't going to fly. It's just not going to fly with most people. Anyone with a child in the spitting distance age of a preschooler is likely to be familiar with Spidey and His Amazing Friends, the animated TV series that follows grade school versions of Peter Parker, Miles Morales, and Gwen Stacy as they take on baddies across New York City. Their kiddo fans might even break out in song and try to talk to you about Patrick Stump. Such is the intense patronage that Spidey inspires among today's youngest kids, and by extension, their parents, willingly or not. So when news emerged that ICE had detained Liam Ramos, a 5-year-old Minnesota boy, it was the photos that broke me. Here is a literal preschooler wearing a Spider-Man backpack just like all of our kids, as the hand of a much larger masked ICE agent holds onto his backpack as if he were a flight risk. An oversized blue hat with bunny ears practically covers his face as he stares ahead blankly. Liam and his father will eventually be sent to an immigration detention center just outside San Antonio, but not before, as school officials reported, federal officers attempted to turn the child into bait by persuading him to knock on his own front door to see if there were other family members they could apprehend inside. Speaking to federal agents in a closed-door meeting, Vice President J.D. Vance defended ICE's actions. There's no defending this. There's just no defending this. As they take on baddies, some would say those 3 are the baddies. Some might say that, Sake Tanuki. Thank you for the 2 tier 1 subs. But like this messaging is untenable. You cannot portray yourselves as the good guys as you round up fucking children. You can't do it. Like, what's crazy to me is you go out and you talk to any of these, like, 50, 60-year-old wine moms who are out on the streets, rain or shine, whatever fucking weather there is outside in Minnesota. You talk to any of them, they start talking about how we need to start building guillotines. That's what they're saying, by the way. And, like, none of you should say that because, again, no Fed posting allowed here. But that's what the wine moms are saying. That's where the wine moms are at. And, like, other people are starting to catch up to that level of anger. Like it is going to get more intense as we go forward, because what these people don't know how to do is moderate. They don't understand how to moderate. The Trump administration cannot wrap its head around, like,
if I did this in Iraq, it would have been a war crime. I would have spent 10 years in Leavenworth for this. War crimes in our own country.
Yeah, Uncle Simric, absolutely. And, like, Sunita, like, writes incoming Civil War 2.0, it's going to be way dumber this time around. And, like, unironically, if the Trump administration continues to escalate, it is going to break the Union. It is going to break the United States fundamentally in a way similar to the prelude to the Civil War. Like, already the revelation of that secret ICE memo where they're telling their trainers to tell, like, new recruits to ICE that it's totally fine to break into people's houses without a judicial warrant, where they're training ICE agents that, like, well, if ICE says it's okay to break into a house, it's totally legal, when that is absolutely not the case. Yeah, bleeding Kansas, freezing Minnesota, exactly. This has a lot of potential to break the Union. The USA is broken already, not in the way I'm talking about. When I say break the Union, I mean, like, shatter the, you know, United States of America into individual states of America. Like, this is an untenable state of affairs. It is not possible to live like this for a long period of time. Yeah, we're talking balkanization. But I will say, I think the tide is turning, folks. This piece by J.P. Hill, I think, is really, really on the ball. Okay? The first general strike in 80 years. War has been declared upon us by our own government. The shock troopers of the regime are concentrating their attack on Minneapolis and now Maine, but people across the country are facing kidnappings, assaults, and terror. ICE and Border Patrol agents are openly flaunting the Fourth Amendment, with their offices asserting the power to enter our homes without a warrant. More and more people are dying in ICE custody. Protesters are suffering life-altering injuries. And as leaders in Minneapolis say, their city is under siege. If we were governed by a regime not at war with its own population, the murder of Renee Good would have been a turning point. An agent point-blank murdering a woman for no reason would have caused a policy change at the very least. But the deportation and border enforcement troops, already fundamentally flawed, have been reappropriated as Trump's Gestapo. So shooting first and asking questions later is the policy, not an aberration. And in the wake of an ICE agent murdering Renee Good, the regime forces closed ranks and doubled down on their reign of terror. Some people internalize the horrific truth about our own government being at war with us long ago, while others are just coming to it now. But every day as we see footage of ICE agents kidnapping kids, assaulting countless people, and tear gassing neighborhoods, more and more people come to realize that these regime forces are at war with the people of this country. For the first time, a plurality of this country wants to abolish ICE, and that number is only going up as the horrors of the agency are broadcast across America. We could pause here and expound upon the nightmare. We could fill pages, as many journalists have, with the atrocities being committed in towns across America by Trump's Gestapo. And we need these testimonies. We need as many people as possible to know about the war this regime is waging on us. But if you are here, if you are reading this, I assume you know the horrors. I assume you've seen the mother shot, the children detained, the fathers kidnapped and sent to countries they've never lived in before. I assume you've seen the city under siege and the countless people afraid to go to work and school, the people scared to live their lives. We are also familiar with the atrocities of ICE because they're documented and shared again and again on social media and even on corporate media. videos of assaults, abuses, and even a murder have been broadcast across the country. What tends to lag behind, what tends to not get the same attention, is the heroic stories and scenes of resistance. Sometimes a clash between brave protesters and ICE will go viral, but it's harder to capture the sustained organizing that makes effective resistance possible. Today is different. Today, many of the biggest unions in Minnesota, along with faith groups and community organizations and more, called for a general strike and economic blackout in opposition to the terror inflicted by federal agents in Minnesota. Hundreds of businesses, museums, and institutions are shut down today. Thousands and thousands of people aren't going to work. The streets of Minneapolis and St. Paul will be filled with protests and marches, and people in other cities and across the country will also be rallying in solidarity. And these scenes will be broadcast nationally, even globally, capturing the attention of millions and helping foster the next phase of our resistance. A true general strike in the United States is unprecedented in most of our lifetimes. People above the age of 80 may have faint memories of the last round of citywide general strikes, which took place in 1946. Before that point, it was already a rare historical feat for unions and communities to pull off, and after that point, they've been non-existent in this country. So today is monumental. Not because a one-day general strike will achieve all of its demands and successfully drive ICE out of Minnesota, but because it sets a new tone, a new standard for the degree of organization and impact that the left is aiming for. In a moment that calls for drastic action, the people of Minnesota are living up to the call and orienting the rest of us towards more ambitious and necessary action. One sign of the historic and urgent nature of this moment is that the traditionally more cautious and conservative unions, like the Minneapolis AFL-CIO, have joined today's general strike call. They join numerous other unions in flexing their muscles to push back against the fascist attack on working people across America and Minnesota. Overall, Minnesota union density is about 16%, while the national number is just below 10%. That distinction might not seem huge, and we certainly want those numbers to increase everywhere, but the 6% difference means tens of thousands more unionized workers, tens of thousands more people who are organized and ready to respond to their union's call at a pivotal moment like the one we are in right now. So today's general strike is both historic in its own right and a signal of what we must aspire to. We must urgently get more organized, enabling us to reach higher levels of coordination and pursue more effective methods of fighting back. The greater our capacity to shut things down, the more unionized we are, the more organized we are, the greater our capacity to hit the ruling class and the fascist regime where it hurts, in the wallets. We know that Trump and his cronies only speak one language: money. We know that profit is what they care about, and so we know that our ability to create economic disruption is a vital, irreplaceable tool in our arsenal of resistance. There are, of course, countless other tools. We've seen community organizing, ICE patrols, display of armed resistance, whistle brigades, tracking and hounding federal agents, taking the fight to the hotels they stay in, and more. It's going to take each and every one of these tactics and then some. As people everywhere wake up to the reality that we are at war, they have become willing to adapt a more radical approach to fighting the Gestapo forces, more willing to pick up radical tools. I know the language of war sounds intense, but when you see what's happening on the ground, when you see the fascist regime attacking thousands and thousands of people and attacking all those who dare protest, it becomes hard to argue. This war, like so many others, didn't ask for our permission. It began when the fascists declared it. For a time, much of this country was asleep to the fact that the fascist movement had launched this attack on us, on countless groups of people all across this country, but the twisted, violent, continuous attacks perpetrated by ICE have broken through. Our government is at war with us, and now it's time to respond accordingly. Minneapolis is leading the way right now. Their dogged, sustained, bold resistance is a beacon in the dark. The Minnesota general strike today may go down as one of the pivotal moments of resistance to the Trump regime and his Gestapo. Today, people are taking their future into their own hands, and tomorrow, millions more Americans will feel emboldened to do the same. As labor leader Big Bill Haywood said over a century ago, if the workers are organized, all they have to do is put their hands in their pockets, and they have got the capitalist class whipped. Today it's Minnesota, tomorrow it's your town, your city, your state. The acceleration of fascism demands that we accelerate our organizing and resistance. It also demands, as we are seeing in Minneapolis and St. Paul, the expansion of our horizons. We have no choice but to think bigger and think bolder. ICE certainly has no compunction about thinking of new ways to violate the law and to hurt more of our people. Therefore, we have no choice but to expand our organizing, expand our coalition, bring more people in, and fight like hell for our future. So see you on the picket lines, in the streets, and at the next general strike. That's where we're at, folks. That is where we're at. I keep hearing about a general strike, but never see 3 and 4 stars picketing outside the Pentagon. Curious. I mean, that's when you know we've actually won, folks. When we actually see not just a general strike, but a general strike. I just, Sake Tanuki, thank you for the 2 tier 1 subs, and the goddamn, the jokes are very much appreciated. You earned that one. So, folks, I'm going to link this to you guys. Feel free to share it around. But I think this is an important observation about the nature of today. Right? The nature of today is that we are seeing unprecedented worker action in a way we have not seen in almost a century. With 215 additional cities across the United States participating today. With people of all walks of life participating today, regardless of where they're at. And I think that that is historic. We're going to get bigger and bigger. We're going to get better and better at organizing. And folks, if you aren't already organizing, I'm going to encourage you now, right now, to get involved organizing with a group that is local to you. Now, the group I always tell folks to get involved with are your local Dems and your local DSA. Because almost all of you have access to one of those 2 groups, if not both. And I know that there are plenty of other groups to organize with. Indivisible, No Kings, Tesla Takedown, Purge Palantir. There are many, many, many different groups out there. Working Families Party. Folks need to get involved now. You cannot be unaligned. This conflict is coming for all of us. It's not going to stop here in Minnesota. They're going to try and do this where you live. They're going to try and have ICE agents disappear your neighbors if they haven't already. This sickness that has gotten a hold of America, it is going to spread. And you have to be ready to fight it. So you got to get organized, folks. And the best time to get organized is now. So get organized and start putting pressure on your local elected officials to make sure you have some basic protections in place against ICE. Make sure your local sheriff's department doesn't have a cooperation agreement with ICE. And if they do, work to put pressure on them to get out of that agreement. We need to, start calling in a coordinated way our elected officials in order to pressure them to take action against ICE. And yes, that includes Republican officials. It includes pieces of shit that you think, they'll never listen to me. Doesn't matter. It's time to start organizing to routinely call them. It is time to bully them systematically until they bow to our demands. Politics is not about kindness, it is about power. And we must use the power we have systematically to get these people to bend the knee. And they will, a lot of these Republicans especially, will resist calls to rein in ICE. They will resist calls to impeach Donald Trump. But if we sustain this action, if we sustain this organizing, we can get them to bend the knee to basically anything. So I want you guys to get organized. And the first step you can do to get organized on a local level is to reach out to your local Dems and reach out to your local DSA. If you need help doing either of those things to radicalize your Dems and make your DSA more effective, join our Discord. Reach out to Gamergy for help with your DSA. Reach out to Dragonfly for help with your local Dems. We have people in the community who have a wide variety of skills when it comes to getting involved, and they're willing to share their knowledge and resources with you. So please get involved today, okay? That's what we need to do. And I just want to say, folks, they fucked with the wrong state. ICE fucked with the wrong state when they picked Minnesota. I think a lot of the decision-making to make, Minnesota ground zero for the biggest ICE operation in U.S. history was that, it's small, it's inconsequential, it's not one of the great powered states, it's no California, it's no New York, but it is progressive. And I wanted to share this piece with you. This is from New York Mag, The People versus ICE, and this is just a little excerpt of it. Okay? I'm just going to read this here. It is the misfortune of Minnesota's ICE contingent to have invaded the state with the second highest levels of social trust, trailing only Utah. Many activist networks were formed in 2020, we are seeing, Petrus says. Minnesotans call upon the muscle memory of the George Floyd protests. In mid-January, a neighborhood organization for a part of town called Whittier put out a call for a meeting to organize a neighborhood ICE response. More than 800 people showed up at the local elementary school and formed a tidy line extending well beyond the door. Why a line? I ask someone later. Because we're in Minnesota, he says. In the cafeteria, in their big coats, adults struggled to get their legs through benches attached to long lunch tables. Because there were too many Minnesotans to fit in a single room, officials and parents and teachers went room to room giving the same speeches about how to help neighbors in hiding. They then gridded out the rooms, dividing the neighborhood into smaller subdivisions. Close neighbors met one another. Oh, you live on the other side of the museum, and formed hyper-local signal groups. At the first sighting of an agent, someone could ping the group and draw them outside. Their favorite tactic was noise. They would make it impossible for ICE to conduct raids in secret. That's the kind of solidarity that will shatter ICE. Average, everyday people showing up to protect their local elementary school. My girlfriend and I are from Oklahoma. We finally moved up to St. Paul for her job and into this shit. It's beyond crazy. It is beyond crazy. You know, I live only a handful of blocks away from where Renee Good was shot and killed and murdered. And what is happening here is fucking insane. It's just fucking insane. I apologize for the profanity. It is just insane. But the people of Minnesota know that it's crazy. We know. We know. And today we said, we're fucking done with this. I wanted to share this observation with you guys. And that is that there are people who have been reporting on activism for, longer than a quarter of a century, who are seeing what Minnesotans are doing and organizing about. And they are saying they have never seen this level of coordination spontaneously emerge. They are shocked. But we are doing things that people thought were impossible. The level of coordination that ICE has spurred within the local community here in Minneapolis and St. Paul is what made this general strike possible. The level of coordination from folks. The inability for ICE to secretly disappear people. Because now the chances are very good that someone, somewhere is going to see what happens. And they're going to let everybody know. That's why you guys are seeing all of this footage. Because of that on-the-ground coordination. And it is born out of the fact that we actually give a shit about each other. We actually give a shit about our neighbors. And a lot of folks in Minnesota might not, say that they care about their neighbors all that often. But there is a deep and abiding trust. There's a deep and abiding idea of community that binds us all together. Because it's just the right thing to do. And it's very, very cool to see happen. One of the things I want to talk about today is one of the actions that is not getting quite as much attention, but I think is significant, is that local clergy has organized a massive protest at the Minneapolis airport. Here they are.
Delta, Delta, you can't hide. We can see your icy side. We can see your icy side. Delta, Delta, you can't hide. Delta, Delta, Delta.
So basically, local religious leaders from, Christian, non-Christian, non-denominational, Universalist, Hindu, Jewish, etc. They all came together and leadership went to the airport in order to put pressure on the airlines and tell them to stop doing business with ICE. That is what they are there to do. And, in the tradition of, frankly, classic civil rights protest, they knelt down outside of the airport to pray. And the local police showed up, of course, and began arresting clergy.
Forevermore. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us.
I want to emphasize that this was done, again, in temperatures around negative 20 degrees below zero. Negative 20 degrees below zero. Here's maybe a better view of police officers arresting these people who are just there to pray. I mean, I think in a good and just world, the governor would have given an order for police to stand down from removing protesters today, but that's just me, I guess. I think it's a big failure for Walls to permit arrests like this. But I will say, I'm very proud of the people here in Minnesota. I wanted to share this video. The other day, we talked a little bit about how protesters here in Minnesota have upped the amount of pressure on local businesses and on ICE itself in order to deny ICE bathrooms. You know, we are seeing a lot of we're seeing a lot of innovation when it comes to strategies to oppose ICE. And genuinely, one of the strategies that seems to be emerging as very effective is making them piss and shit themselves. Specifically by making sure they don't have a bathroom to use in the community.
ICE does not belong in this property at all. We do not support ICE. Get off of our property. Bye. 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 Get out of my way. I'm trying to leave. Get out of the way. Hey, trying to get out of here. Yeah. Hey. Hey, he's trying to get out of here. Hey, watch out behind you. Get the fuck out of my way. Get out of my city. You're welcome.
Oh, you're welcome, bud. I got people out of the way. That's what I put on my BORTAC outfit for. I put on my BORTAC outfit to tell my other chucklefuck coworkers to get out of your way. You're welcome. Why aren't you thanking us? I don't understand. Yeah, so that man who came out and was like, this is private property, get out. That's the manager of the Speedway. Okay? And just as an FYI, one of the strategies you can pursue in order to thwart ICE in your area is to work with local business managers to make sure that they are on board with denying ICE accommodation when it comes to bathroom usage. Because it turns out these private businesses and gas stations don't have to open up their bathrooms to ICE. They can actually come out and say, nah, get the fuck out. Just as a point of reference for other folks in other places to learn from. And that's where we are right now in Minnesota. You know? Folks are innovating in a wide variety of ways, but I do want to say, one of the things that's happening here, the FBI agent who attempted to investigate Jonathan Ross for murdering Renee Good, has now resigned. This is breaking from apparently the New York Times. Sources tell the New York Times an FBI agent who sought to investigate the federal immigration officer who fatally shot Renee Good has resigned. The agent, Tracy Mergen, left her job at the FBI's Minneapolis field office after leadership in Washington pressured her to discontinue a civil rights inquiry into Jonathan Ross. Again, even folks within the FBI, even folks within ICE are getting fucking fed up with this nonsense. The administration is trying to say, yeah, you can, if you're an ICE agent, you can murder a woman and get away scot-free. And this FBI agent was not cool with that, but also did not have the power to stop that. On the other hand, no investigation. It was announced several days ago that the Trump administration had closed the investigation. My guess is that as a form of protest, as a last fuck you, this FBI agent resigned. But folks, let's take a minute to just... I know that there's plenty of bad news. We could talk about the bad news all day. Okay? And I have. But we also should talk about the good stuff. So let's take a moment to just breathe in some hopium, all right? Okay, good. Now Minnesota can open one. Have they? Yeah. Minnesota has an open investigation into the murder. In fact, they've been openly soliciting members of the community to submit evidence. So if any of you know people in the community who have recordings of the event or any information, the Hennepin County Attorney's Office has a page for folks to submit evidence. But folks, this is what's happening right now in Minnesota. People are filling the streets. People filled the streets rather earlier today with just countless people on a day when the wind chill was negative 40 degrees outside. It is something that makes me feel, some degree of local pride. I'm not gonna lie. It makes me feel a lot of local pride.
Doing here right now, showing what the will of the masses is here in Minnesota. I have gone this whole time without noting what the temperature is outside. As of right now, it should be about -10. It feels colder with the wind chill. Earlier today, it reached a low of -22 degrees. And yet we are seeing tens of thousands of people taking to the streets here in Minnesota in a popular demonstration of mass rage against the Trump administration. And rage, that is the emotion that I have heard Minnesotans express more than anything else. All surrounding me are Americans, are Minnesotans who paid their taxes and have seen their taxes come back to them in the form of tear gas, in the form of retribution from immigration agents, and in the form of bullets that entered Renee Good. I want to say that the biggest thing you can do to support us is also the smallest ask I can make, which is to just like or share this stream. What we are doing here.
ICE are terrorists. That's a good catch. Pulling off a general strike is more than I can imagine people here in Germany being able to do, so hats off to you. Do people also think beyond just getting ICE out to systemic change? I think right now, with the immediacy of people seeing children get snatched up. People are seeing folks get taken.
Here's some good news. Itch.io is running a game jam in support of MN, and it's running wild now.
Yeah, I saw that. Folks should check it out. But there's an immediacy to seeing somebody get snatched up by ICE. To seeing 3 massive vehicles pull up, a bunch of guys in military LARP gear roll out, and then just grab someone, throw them into a truck, and drive off. There is the spectacle of people converging on a site where ICE is trying to detain someone or multiple individuals, and the whistles are blaring, and the people are angry, and the gas starts going, right? There's an immediacy to that is impossible to get beyond to a great degree at the moment. And so, folks like me, I think beyond that to systemic change. but I think the organizing is going to have to get more coordinated and more it's going to have to get more coordinated than it is right now for there to be like an idea of what happens beyond getting ICE out, what happens beyond getting the fascists out of here. And I think that it is possible for us to reach beyond just getting ICE to go home. And it is possible for us to have and maintain this organizing apparatus as we go forward beyond the ICE occupation. But right now, the amount of coordination is just in its infancy. You know, like this was an impressive feat made possible by the coordination of businesses, you know, religious leaders, even the state government. Like the Minneapolis City Council endorsed the strike. Do you have any idea, guys, how often like governing bodies endorse a strike? That it almost never happens. Almost never happens. Like you have the government collaborating with the strikers, and then you have, you know, folks on the ground and like activist groups and such, and just all of that came together this one time. We need to be able to bring all of that together more than just once, but like going forward, there needs to be coordination between all of these bodies. And my hope is that if ICE does not take the hint and does not leave, which it probably will not, the coordination continues to improve, continues to evolve, and gains the sophistication in order to begin to look beyond. Because right now, the focus is squarely on ICE. But I think it is possible for this apparatus to evolve into something that can exist beyond the material conditions of oppression right now in Minnesota. Where can we find the game jam standing up to ICE? Check out itch.io. Somewhere over there. I just want to say, again, negative 22 degrees outside, not counting the wind chill.
ICE out!
Guys, I think maybe people are taking this seriously. Yeah, just a hunch. People understand the existential threat that fascism is facing us with here in Minnesota, in Minneapolis, and St. Paul, in the Twin Cities area. Javier Valenzuela, thank you for the $5 super chat. The world is my expense, the cost of my desire. Jesus bless me with its future, and I protect it with fire. Cool. Like, I also have to say, this is like the most peaceful demonstration I think I've ever seen. I didn't hear about any fights.
Minnesota wants ICE out.
Yeah, I think perhaps Minnesota wants ICE out. I think a fair assumption to make, right? I keep thinking back to that JP Hill piece we read through. There is this implicit understanding that the federal government has gone to war with Minnesota. And I think today is the day we showed we are willing and able to meet that challenge. We will fight them. We will out-organize them, and we will outlast them. It's incredible too, because folks, it's not just Minnesota. It's also cities across the nation. Like here's New York City. New York City turned out for support to support Minnesota. Like, hats off to New York City. Thank you. Thank you for standing alongside us. We'll remember. Here's another overhead shot of organizing in Minnesota, by the way. As far as you can see, folks just pouring into the street. Negative 22 degree weather. We will show up in the dead of winter and we will hold that torch alive. So don't you guys dare give up hope. The people of Minnesota can show up in the middle of the coldest day of the year and fuck around with Mary Tyler Moore statues to say fuck ICE. You can too.
One thing to note, ICE now knows they're running out of time. Seeing this in frigid cold, wait until it warms up.
Oh yeah, like when it is warm outside, I imagine these numbers could double. Easy. Easy. We are gonna beat these bastards, folks. I mean, just check this out. I mean, people are showing up from every corner of the state. We're going to make it through. And that's not to say that the coming days and weeks and months ahead are not going to be difficult, are not going to be hard, are not going to be full of times where the news is bad and scary and things get worse. Because things are going to get worse. Fascists only know how to double down until you hold the line and tell them to fuck off. And then they crumple. Because these people, these fascist fucks, they're cowards. They are cowards. They do not know how to handle people who actually give a damn. They don't get it. They don't understand. You know, like, folks are gonna turn the fuck out. And we will continue to do this. And if we have to, we will have longer general strikes than just one day. We'll do it in the summertime when it's nice out too. Just you fucking wait, guys. It's going to be absolutely insane here come the summer if these people are not gone and have continued to escalate. You know, for those who believe in paid agitators, you couldn't pay me to be out in this weather, but for our neighbors, we'll freeze for free. That's how it is here. That is how it is here. Yeah, think of how many times Donald Trump turned taco. Exactly. The scenes from today leave me in awe. We fucking did it, folks. Also, shout out to these folks who made Minnesota no ice or Minnesota noise signs with a loon as the Rebel Alliance emblem. You know, I gotta say, I kind of dig it. I kind of dig it. I like it. I kind of like it. You know. I don't know. It's cringe. I understand it's cringe, but you know what? I'm feeling the cringe. I'm feeling it in my heart. All right? Rebellions are built on 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. It's a good cringe. It is. It is. We're gonna get through this time, folks. A lot of the marchers ended in the Target Stadium, by the way, or Target, forget what it's called. Target Center. There we go. At the risk of DMCA. This was, by the way, much earlier in the day, before everyone filed in. Just a bunch of people went directly here instead of going through the march, which... understandable. It was really cold. My understanding is Target Center donated the space for people to end the march in so that they could warm up. Like, I'm not gonna lie. There's a part of me that feels like I'm getting a little choked up seeing like such an outpouring of community support to tell ICE to fuck off, that they were able to get an entire stadium full of people and put on the big screen ICE out of Minnesota. Like, I don't know if it's the combination of ABBA and worker solidarity and just the nature of this space, but like, it is pretty great. It is pretty great. You know, there's been so much awful that has happened. There's been so much awful that has happened. And I'm, you know, it's really, really, really difficult to put into words how rough it has been to see day after day your world get smaller. You know, like and that's genuinely how it feels here in the Twin Cities. You know, to be scared to, you know, to see if your partner is going to come home at the end of the day, to not know if like you can go outside because you're a queer couple. You know, it has been absolutely terrifying to watch that world shrink. And today it felt like that world got a lot bigger. And it matters. Stuff like this matters. It's just, it is difficult to put into words, but I think we are gonna come through this. Spring is coming, friends. Spring is coming. Apparently, they're also smashing blocks of ice as they say this, which is really what a power move. I wanted to show you guys what the stadium looked like.
Yeah, they were just a speaker a little bit earlier.
Like, look at that. Isn't that lovely? So many people coming together in solidarity. The Canadian flag is being shown to show our solidarity with the folks of Canada. We're gonna be okay, folks. We're gonna be okay. But it comes down to each and every one of us to do our spot. To do our part, rather. It is really important for us to do actions like this because it spurs hope. It is vitally important. All right, let's move into just one of the final points that I wanted to make here, which is that the turnout we've seen today in Minnesota from this general strike has the potential to really change the course of American politics on the national scale. The solidarity that you guys have demonstrated across the United States and across the world with the folks here in Minnesota has changed the balance of power in Washington a little bit. Now, many of you were disappointed with the fact that essentially here, the outpouring of anti-ICE sentiment and the strong and sudden formation of this general strike and the timing of this general strike is very inconvenient to Democrats in the Senate, specifically centrist and conservative Democrats in the Senate. And what I mean by that is HR 4717, I believe, was the number, which is like the House appropriations bill when it comes to ICE funding, got Democrats to help it through the House. And it was deeply, deeply disappointing. I know to many of you and to myself as well that happened. But with that wasn't game over. What that meant is that sent the bill to the Senate. And the problem with that was that Hakeem Jeffries in the House and Chuck Schumer in the Senate had no interest in whipping votes to oppose funding for ICE. They have no interest in it. They do not care. They do not want to do it. They think that, this is all a distraction from affordability politics. However, the major asterisk there is that the polling on the popularity of ICE has changed so significantly to such a degree And the formation of this general strike has been so sudden and so strong. Well, it turns out the scuttlebutt in Washington is that the possibility of a government shutdown is back on the table. ICE revolt puts government shutdown back on the table. Okay? So basically, if these bills are not passed by January 30th, there's going to be another government shutdown. Okay? But there was a hiccup in the House that might cause serious indigestion in the Senate. As protests against ICE tactics spread around the country and intensified among rank-and-file Democrats, House Democrats demanded and got a separate vote on spending for the Department of Homeland Security, and came reasonably close to taking it down. In the end, 7 Democrats joined all but 1 Republican in passing the DHS bill, but even some of the appropriators who negotiated the bill wound up voting against it, along with the entire Democratic leadership. The House promptly adjourned in the expectation that the Senate would pass all 6 of the pending appropriations bills as a block, thus ending any partial government shutdown threat. But Republicans will need at least 7 and maybe 8 Democratic senators to go along with them. And suddenly it's not so clear that will happen. Tim Kaine, a key figure in reopening the government in November, is rejecting any rubber stamping. Again, one of the 8 Senate Dems who voted for the November deal that ended the shutdown, is saying that he is not going to vote in favor of this House appropriations package. Okay? So that is one of the necessary votes down. Angus King of Maine is also hesitant to vote for a spending package for ICE, considering ICE operations have recently begun to expand significantly in Maine. So that's 2 down. Okay? Also, we got indivisible members in Brooklyn putting significant pressure on Chuck Schumer to put an end to the appropriations bill for ICE. And, of course, Schumer probably doesn't care, but if Angus King and Tim Kaine are no-goes, and the pressure is increasing on Democrats, folks, I'm gonna say this again. Between now and January 30th, call your senators and make sure they don't vote for any of this funding for ICE. A lot of these folks are saying, oh, well, you know, ICE will just fund itself from the slush fund and will continue to operate if there's a government shutdown. But a lot of other bad things will stop operating, right? A lot of other bad things will stop. Additionally, it opens up the door for negotiations on actually curtailing ICE activity. So shut it down until Republicans are begging to come to the table and willing to give Democrats the assurances that ICE will be reined in. And not just assurances, like actual legal language that reins in ICE. We cannot have a federal police force that is effectively saying it's going to violate the Constitution as a matter of training. Like, that cannot be. Minnesota protests just made the news here in Denmark. Pretty impressive considering it's like 12:30 a.m. here. Yeah. I think it's because a lot of places know that, like, this is the testing ground. This is the proving ground.
My senator is Ted Cruz. I might call your senator, though.
Call Ted Cruz anyway. Call, like, genuinely. Who gives a fuck? He might not listen to you, but you know what? You can tell him to fuck off. 3:30 a.m. Makes sense. So, well, Jeffries did pull a Schumer. The appropriations bill has already passed the House. It is now the only hurdle for appropriations right now is the Senate under Chuck Schumer. So, call your senators, folks, and get them to kill this bill. They have 1 week to pass this thing, and we are highly motivated to organize like a ongoing call campaign to harass them and bully them into, you know, not opening the government with more money for ICE. Shut it all down. Glusenkamp is in my state, and every time her name pops up, it's because she's on the wrong side. Yeah, Glusenkamp Perez is a fucking joke, and I'm really sorry y'all got saddled with her. We need to primary the fuck out of her. She should not be given another term in office. Call your representatives. Indeed, folks. Now's the time. Call your senators. And make time to do it every day between now and the end of the month. And if they have committed to voting against the appropriations package, call your senator and thank them for it. Genuinely, and I do mean this, getting calls that thank them and call them good boy or good girl, don't actually use that language. I'm being facetious. But those types of calls genuinely stick out to them in a way that is difficult to put into words. Staffers genuinely sometimes remember even the name of the people who leave like positive messages or thank yous to them. Okay? Like, they genuinely live for praise. So get them to bend the knee and then, give them pets and scratches, okay? Won't they just do the same thing they did last time, shut down for a month and then fold anyway? Maybe. But that's 1 month of the government feeling the pinch of essentially chaos. That's another thing that makes Donald Trump look bad. Either way, shutting down the government is going to help us have more leverage in negotiating restrictions on ICE. I am somewhat surprised that a lot of the folks who have their finger on the pulse of Washington, D.C. politics are suddenly going, oh shit, guys, we could shut the government down. I think that's important, So, folks, get involved on this. Get organized. Join your local Dems. Join your local DSA. Get organized today, folks. We got folks in this community who can help you organize, who you can organize with. Join our Discord. Come on in. We don't bite. Reach out to Gamergy for help joining your local DSA and making it more effective. Reach out to Dragonfly for help joining your local Dems and making them more progressive. Let's get together, pool this energy, and make something happen. Okay? If Minnesotans can show up in sub-zero temperatures, you can show up to a, temperature-controlled meeting for an hour a month. You can do it. I believe in you. All that being said, consider leaving a like and a comment and subscribe. And also, check out ImogeneOlivia.com. Gender-euphoric lingerie designed from the ground up for trans femmes. Tested on cis men, cis women, non-binary folks. People love it. It's non-tucking lingerie. Check it out. New colors and styles will be coming in the near future. Exciting stuff. Whew! Link should be down in the description, by the way.
Riverboat deck is going to town. All the viewers gather round. Twitch and YouTube and swishy streams. All that content is bursting the seams. Politics, dating, plenty more. Your sense of fashion you'll adore. So grab your stuff and hop aboard. We're going straight to Jack's Discord. Riverboat Jack. Riverboat.